Thank you. Hello, I am an ordinary office worker. Just by looking at my hair, some people might ask if I work as a staff member at a hair salon, but actually I work at a financial company. It's a very conservative group. When I joined my company, I wrote something on my monitor. Someday we'll get fired, the company will go bankrupt, and we will die. When I wrote this, what I really wanted to tell myself was not to let trivial things make me lose my happiness. Of course, by trivial things, I was referring to the company. From a social and economic perspective, the company holds much greater value than I do, but on my end, the company is just a small part of my life. So living with this mindset, I recently took a month-long sabbatical by myself and went to Jeju Island. At that time, the manager said this to me. Hey, can't you do it after a couple of months? No, I can't. That's what I told him. And then the director said, you should go. But it seems a bit long. I said, a month is short. So with that, I went, someday we'll get fired, the company will go bankrupt, and we'll all die. I just really wanted to focus on my happiness. So before that, I also took parental leave with my child and spent 2 wonderful years in the Netherlands. When I say things like this, some people respond like this. But still, a company is an organization, so there are rules you must follow. Is it really okay for you to just do whatever you want? Some people might say that, but from my perspective, seeing every day on my monitor that someday I'll get fired, the company will go bankrupt, and eventually we'll all die, actually made my own life feel more precious. And I think that's what led me a bit closer to happiness. So then, what is happiness? What made me happy today? That's what I thought about. The weather was really nice today, wasn't it? Did anyone go for a walk today? I was honestly so happy today because the weather was just so great. But I also like cloudy days, rainy days, windy days. I use good day. I really like every kind of day. And I like eating with my friends. I enjoy cooking by myself. And honestly, even talking with all of you like this makes me really happy. If you shake this a bit here, some of it comes out. I take that home and have a drink. So for me, there are just so many reasons to be happy. But when I talk with other people, I realize that it's not always the same for everyone. From my perspective, this person is way more impressive than I am. Their future looks much brighter and they're doing much better than me. They're good looking. But when I actually talk to them, it turns out they're not really happy. Then I wonder, why am I happier than this person? Why do I have so many reasons to be this happy? Thinking about that, I started to look a little deeper into myself. And as I did, I ended up tracing back to my childhood. I lived in the countryside where only one bus came every hour. My mother gave birth to me at home. There was no doctor and no nurse either. The truth is, we simply didn't have any money. And after I was born, my mother did soldering work. So she would use a soldering iron to connect circuits with lead, and she ended up inhaling the fumes, which led to her being hospitalized. But on the other hand, my father was a very happy person. In the summer, he would go fishing, and he'd get really excited when he caught a big fish. And then every winter, he would take his hunting dogs and go hunting. When I was in elementary school, an incident occurred. I was having lunch with my friends, and one of them was eating the jangjorim I brought, when suddenly he shouted, "It's treasure!" He yelled it out like that. All the kids crowded around. I spat out what I was eating, and when we looked, there were these round, shiny things like gold and pearls inside. So all the kids crowded around and said, "Hey, give me just one. Give me just one." They kept saying things like that. At that moment, I said, "Those are bullets." My father had hunted a pheasant with a shotgun, and I had brought the pheasant meat in my lunchbox. Looking back on it now, it's actually a really funny story. I mean, a bullet came out of my meal, but I was really embarrassed by that. It wasn't even a stone, it was a bullet that I bit into. So if I had to sum up my childhood in one sentence, I think it felt kind of dry and tough, like that pheasant meat with a bullet in it. My mother always said she was unhappy because life was so hard for her, and my father was too violent and irresponsible for me to handle. So my childhood, which I define as the only truly unhappy period of my life, passed by. But people say this a lot, that even if you dislike your parents, you end up resembling them. Maybe I was influenced by my father too, because I started shooting guns when I was in middle school. But the place where I shot guns wasn't in the mountains. It was at a place called Kumho gas station in Jangganggu, Suwon. You know, that golden vacation you get after graduating middle school and before entering high school, because that's the period when you don't have any homework. So it's amazing. But I worked 12 hours a day during that time. I'd be playing basketball with my friends and say, "I have to go first," or playing games at the arcade and say, "Sorry, I have to leave early." And then I'd head off to the gas station to shoot guns. In a way, working at the gas station was a bit embarrassing for me. Why do I have to go this far? I also felt a bit resentful about it. But there are a few things I remember very clearly, and one of them is from 1998, when I was in my third year of middle school. Back then, the price of gasoline at the gas station was 1,111 won. The price of diesel was half of that. Back then, the money I earned by working 12 hours a day for a whole month was 480,000 won. I still remember how moved I was. At that time, there were no 50,000 won bills, and there was no account transfer. I had a thick wad of cash, and I was just a middle school student. If you convert it to today's money, it would have been about 1.5 to 2 million won. After finishing my shift at the gas station at 11 o'clock, I put the money inside my jacket, got on my bike, and as I rode off, I remember hitting the gas station pillar and shouting, "It's over!" That memory is still so vivid to me. I think I felt a sense of pride inside. So what about that 480,000 won? Where did that money go? Number one, I lost it on the way. Number two, I got robbed by a gangster on the way. Number three, I went to the arcade. Which one? Please express it in numbers like this. But contrary to expectations, I used that money to pay my high school entrance fee. It wasn't because my family was poor, and it wasn't like my mom told me to pay the money either. I think I just wanted to be able to say to myself, I did it on my own. I graduated from Yushin High School, and out of the hundreds of students who entered Yushin High, there probably weren't many who got in by their own efforts like I did. And that fact gave me an enormous sense of pride. And then I entered high school. At that point, I gained complete freedom during high school. Maybe it was indifference, but honestly, I really did everything I wanted to do. But the important thing is, even back then, I knew just how precious my senior year of high school was. So I filled every moment to the brim, going to clubs, for example. Clubs like Korean Club, Arabian Club. I also went to Tunnel Club, and I packed all those precious moments as full as I could. People ask me if I was happy. I was incredibly happy. It was because my friends were with me. Thanks to those friends, I didn't feel any academic stress at all during my school days. And I took the college entrance exam in the best condition. And we like something like an earning surprise. When you far exceed expectations, I got results that were like an earning surprise. I got 240 points, and I think I got about 12 points in math. But if someone asked me, if you could go back to that time, would you choose to get a perfect score on the college entrance exam or make memories with your friends? I would choose my friends. Because in the future, my friends didn't help me emotionally, financially, or economically at all. I knew they wouldn't too. And I know there will never be one, but during those high school days, they were the source of my happiness. It's what you call soul food. Do you have your own soul food? For me, it's sundae soup. My absolute favorite is sundae. And if someone were to ask me the king of Korean street food, I'd answer sundae. That's how much I love sundae. So with that, I went to university. It was Sun Chunyang University, located in Asan, South Chungcheong. It's a prestigious university. But as you might know, the more prestigious the university, the harder it is. The barrier to entry for admission is pretty low, but getting good grades is extremely difficult. Because the school was so far away that commuting, just getting to class or even showing up was almost impossible. Even just going to take exams was really difficult. So in my first year after finishing the second semester with a GPA of 0.4, I dropped out. I was actually really happy about it because while other people spend 4 years working hard to graduate, I managed to wrap it all up in just 1 year. That's how it went. There were a few incidents that happened during my 20s. For example, my parents got divorced and my mother's credit became really bad. You could say she became a credit delinquent. Of course, she went through bankruptcy and rehabilitation as well. But to be honest, I was actually okay. It wasn't the life I chose, and I think I kind of felt like it wasn't really my life either. So there's this saying that having a son is useless. In Korea, what comes after son? The word brat comes after son. There's no point in having a son, just a brat. They call them brats, and as a son in Korea, I really think that's true. I think it's true. And fortunately, I had a daughter. I'm so happy, and honestly, I couldn't be more grateful. I've just shared with you my life story from birth through my 20s, so what do you think about it? If you look at this story objectively, it could just be the tale of someone born into unfortunate circumstances, who started working from middle school, wandered aimlessly through high school without studying, ended up at college, and couldn't even stick it out there before dropping out. But the moment I add just a dash of I was happy as seasoning, this story becomes a perfect dish. I opened my eyes. I was born, but I was poor. My home was a mess, too. Well, there was nothing I could do about it. But instead of finding happiness in my family, I found it in my friends. Even though I had to work during middle school, working hard, pumping gas at a gas station, I used that money to pay my high school tuition, and that gave me a sense of pride, like a seed of happiness planted in my heart. Who says that studying is the most important thing in high school? For me, it was friends. Through friends, I experienced love and friendship, betrayal and disloyalty, and I learned about life. With what I learned, I soon dropped out of college and was able to freely do what I wanted. No matter what moment it was, I think I kept searching for reasons to be happy. That's why I believe that finding a reason to be happy is truly important in our lives. As long as I have that reason, my life simply becomes happy. My life just naturally becomes happy. Oh, and that phrase is still written on my company monitor. Someday we'll get fired, the company will go bankrupt, and we'll die. That's just a fact. That doesn't change. But what kind of stance you take in response to this is up to you. The stance I chose was that I wanted to be happy at work too. But for me, I'm someone who's happy when I do what I need to do, when I make my own choices. So I worked really hard at the company. As a result, I met great people around me, was put in charge of projects, and I was really happy doing that. You might not believe it, but I was extremely satisfied with my company. And I still am. But then an incident happened. My child was born. I started making comparisons. What should I choose? What kind of happiness can the company give me? Promotions, performance reviews, salary, maybe the reputation among colleagues, things like that, right? But my child, I can't breastfeed my child, can I? I can't breastfeed, but I can make baby food, give baths, and laugh together with my child, watching them grow. When a baby is born, their feet are this tiny. But now, they've grown this much. When I compare watching this to anything else, nothing comes close. This is so much greater. So I immediately took parental leave and raised my child for 2 years. And I think it was one of the top 10 best decisions of my life. I think happiness is really nothing hard to achieve, right? There are so many reasons to be happy in this world. There are so many. But what's important is what makes you happy. When you solve a difficult problem, or when you get married, or when you buy a house and the price goes up, or maybe you bought Bitcoin and Ethereum is skyrocketing, or when you eat something delicious, or maybe you haven't found your reason yet. But what's important is that no matter what situation you're in right now, there is definitely a reason for you to be happy. And there are actually a lot of them. If I could ask just one thing, it would be, don't look for reasons to be unhappy. There are so many more reasons to be unhappy that no matter how hard I try to block them out, they'll just squeeze their way in. So I hope you try not to pay attention to the reasons for unhappiness, keep them as far away as possible, and focus on the reasons you should be happy. If you focus on that, your life will probably become happier. You might not have noticed, but I didn't introduce myself today. Do you know who I am? Most of you probably don't. The reason I didn't mention it is because this isn't a time where who I am matters. Today, I just hope that each of you would find at least one more reason to be happy. For me, once this is over, I just get paid, go have a drink, and that's it. That's how I see it. I think happiness is a game of how much more and how much faster you can find reasons to be happy. I hope that in your lives, you find as many reasons as possible to be happy, even just one more, and that you find them as quickly as possible so that your life stories are filled with happiness. Thank you.